Hey, this is Mark. This video will be a little longer because we're going to do this together. So basically, every day I go through the news because to me it's relevant to the stock market. I got my first dog by reading the classifieds. I'm upset that we don't have big classifieds anymore in the newspapers, but my dog Rover, when I was 7 years old, I got. So in this paper today, the only big story is that Jeff Bezos, who I'm not a fan of, kind of responded to President Biden's tweet, which said, President Biden's tweet said this: "My message to the companies running gas stations and setting prices at the pump is simple. This is a time of war and global peril." In other words, he's telling gas stations to cut their profit as if they don't have families. Jeff Bezos says in a tweet, "Ouch, inflation is too far important a problem for the White House to keep making statements like this. It's either straight ahead misdirection, in other words a lie, or a deep misunderstanding of the basic concepts." A pretty intelligent thing to say. Another pretty big story is this crisis of 53 people dying in the truck, the Mexican immigrants or Hispanic immigrants that were coming up from South America. How the Homeland Security Homeland Security Chief Alejandro Mayorkas, made it appear as if it was the migrants' fault. Now, again, this is a conservative-leaning paper, so maybe they're not being fair with him here. But in the meantime, we really should close the borders. Less people would come, and less people would probably be hurt. What we should do is be building the economy of our neighbors in the South, and being smart. I mean, we shouldn't try to grow marijuana here. We shouldn't try to grow vegetables in buildings here. We should do it in Central America and South America to give their economy more capability and balance both economies off. We have to help people there, and we also have to try to develop more democracy, more freedom, and try to create less crime there. Let's see what else we got here. And we know about the gas. Let's see. This woman Swift is, let me just tell you right here. I don't know who she is exactly, but I know she's a very sexy woman, but she's tough. She's is very, very tough and tells it like it is. I have a lot of respect for her. Let's see. Oh, breaking news. I'm just making this up now. Amber Heard to play Cassidy Hutchinson in a new made-for-television movie. Actually, the stories are side by side, but they have a remarkable resemblance. Cassidy Hutchinson is probably going to get in trouble because her version of the story, her hearsay, is not going to match the Secret Service. Amber Heard, well, she's no longer heard too much because that court decision did not go her way. I think she still owes Johnny Depp $8 million. And yeah, he may be a drug addict and so forth, but the way they were persecuting him was ridiculous. And the men are happy that he won, let's put it this way. I know a British guy in particular who's very happy. Israel's responsible for shooting that journalist, as is what the Palestinians had said to begin with. Now Israel's just backing off and saying that, well, it was an accident. It's a sad situation there. I mean, number one, they killed a journalist. They have to pay. Big story. The former governor of New York, who kind of stepped in, his name was David Patterson. I think he took over when the very smart tall guy from Princeton, I can't remember, Elliot something, kind of got kicked out because he had an affair with, or or he paid a prostitute. Anyway, he took over for him, and now he's saying that AOC is just media hype. She's a media phantom. She'll be gone soon. I hope so. I really do, because AOC, as beautiful as she is, I can't stand her. Let's see. These hikers, 6 dead in the Italian Alps from the avalanche that came down yesterday. It was really dramatic. I guess there was a lot of snow and ice above. The ice let go, started pulling rocks down, and sure enough, 6 people dead. This was a great story that I saw. The inspirational New Jersey pizza boy. He's the talk of New Jersey. Every day, 25-year-old Salvatore Madrucci toils behind the counter of Marcello's Pizza Grill, a 20-year-old institution outside Trenton. But on TikTok and Instagram, Mandrucci is better known as Sally Slices, where his 4 million combined followers may make him the most famous pizziola in the United States. Basically, he gives nice sayings on his videos, but he's making pizza, and of course he's a very good-looking Italian guy, as most Italian men are. Anyway, he said, when I started, I said to my dad, look, I've got 6,000 followers. You know what he said to me? That's bullshit. But the next week I had 20,000. I saw his demeanor change. And once I hit 50,000, he started to understand the value of social media. Mandrucci told the Post in a Joe Pesci-esque Jersey accent. My dad's been my biggest supporter. Every day we have people stopping in from different states. He continued, noting that his TikTok fame has been great for Marcello's, located in a strip mall in Hamilton Square. They're doing something else in the area and they stop by. The restaurant gets 25 calls a day from fans looking to speak with him, forcing Madrucci to avoid the phone altogether. So how did this guy get behind the oven of family pizza joint? Madrucci's father is a first-generation Sicilian immigrant, come to share representation with Boston Bruins defensemen Matt Grelchik and UFC lightweight Charles Oliveira. It certainly helps that Mandrucci is both tall and cute. He brings to mind a bright-eyed Ray Liotta at the beginning of Goodfellas, or a younger, kidder Nicolas Cage. Blah, blah, blah. Basically, he's a good-looking guy. He's a guy that women like to look at. But I'll tell you right now, when you see a guy like this that's making it in TikTok, that's pretty good. Let's move on to the next thing. New York Times. I couldn't find the Wall Street Journal today, but I have Friday, so we can look at that. Russia is making too many advances, and Joe Biden says, well, maybe we'll send you some more bullets. Poor leadership. And that's the entire NATO should have been behind the Ukraine war. We're going to see Ukraine fall, and that's why oil prices have been dropping. Let's see. Oh, U.S. veterans are secretly helping Ukraine because they believe in America. They had to step up themselves without the backing of the government, and they're in Ukraine trying to train these soldiers. It's absolutely horrendous that we're watching communism take ground, and Joe Biden and Congress are hesitating to send things to these people. Honestly, we should have boots on the ground here. No question. Let's see. Trump wants to make his way back. You heard it here. I don't think he's going to make it. The abortion conflict continues on. I think that it's now a tool for politics, and it's really going to have a big effect on many different things. Let's see this. This article, the American Cancer Society of Michigan state authorities say was a fake charity and not even a good fake. It was not in Michigan, for one thing, when the group applied to the Internal Revenue Service to become a tax-exempt nonprofit in 2020. It listed its address as rented mailbox in Staten Island. It was not the American Cancer Society either. In fact, the real American Cancer Society had already warned the IRS that the leader of the sound-alike group, Ian Hussung, was running a fraud. The IRS approved the group anyway, Soon after, it also approved another operation run by Mr. Hussing, the United Way of Ohio. Wow. Unbelievable. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I'm sorry about this news today. I just been having a headache for the past week. An American's murky path from Russian propagandist. Let's see. Let's see. This is all about Russian propaganda, which they are very effective at it. I have a friend who believes that there's no war in Ukraine. It's all a hoax. I have a friend that believes that Donald Trump is still really the president. I have a friend, and he is a friend, that believes that the military is going to create a coup and take Biden out of office. That's Russian propaganda at work. Not to say the millions of people that you hear about that believe chemtrails and everything else. It's embarrassing. Russia seizes prize city. Northern Ireland, old passions are reignited. We've been talking about this for a while. I've actually walked across this bridge in Dublin. But Derry, Northern Ireland, few cities are caught between hope and history, as Derry, the birthplace of modern troubles, but also the backdrop of the Derry Girls, the exuberant, widely popular British TV series that chronicles the lives of 5 teenagers as the bloody period was drawing to an end in the 1990s. I remember the days when you used to call the IRA some dangerous people, blowing things up. But you know what? When you put people in a corner, that's what happens. NATO has called out China. Well, that'll go over well. You did good with Russia. Might as well let China walk all over you too. The shooting in Copenhagen turned out to be a mentally ill kid. Of course, the biggest news today, July 4th, is this kid named Crimo, Bobby Crimo, who killed 6 people and wounded 30. I did some research on him before they really put his picture out. Apparently, he was into gaming, and he had videos on the internet of a lot of shooting. So it could be some just crazy little wimp-ass kid that liked to shoot people. However, as I reported earlier, Highland Park, Illinois, is a primarily Jewish town, 50% Jewish. I'm going to guess there had to be some anti-Semitism there. Why would you go to that town to make trouble? You took a sniper's position. We'll have to see what comes out of it. Okay. Somebody advancing transgender rights. Let's just take a quick look at this. Mariah Lopez has been suing New York City for transgender rights since she was a child. In 1999, age 13, she was the lead plaintiff in a class action lawsuit charging the gay and lesbian children in foster care was subject to routine violence and psychological abuse. At 17, she won the right to wear skirts and dresses in an all-male group home. At 20, she sued to force the city to pay for her gender affirmation surgery, though she ultimately lost. The city soon began covering such operations. Hey man, let me just tell you something about transgenders. I don't want to be a woman at all. I don't want any changes. So if there's a guy who wants to make changes, it's got to be real. That's all I can tell you. I think that the same thing with being gay. I don't want to be gay. I don't want to touch a guy. But if some guy wants to touch a guy or some woman wants to be with a woman, it's real. You got to let nature take its course. So we have to give transgenders respect. Let's just hope that we can have less hate from the transgenders, from the gay population towards straight people like me. I mean, I think they look at me in disgust. Well, most women do anyway. But all I can say is, let's just respect people and let them become transgenders. We talked about the jet truck that crashed and burned. Oh, this story. Let me ask you this: if you get pulled over for a ticket, or if you're going to get stopped, do you take off from the police? Do you just like start buzzing down the street and run from them? Is that what you do? And then do you take your gun and shoot out the window? And then do you take the clip out and leave the gun on the seat, stop your car, and start running? Let me ask you this. Do you think that that's the best thing to do with police? I don't think so. Because they think that you're running to some house and you're going to kill somebody. Anyway, over in Akron, Ohio, you got a bunch of people there that are upset that this guy got shot 60 times. Yeah, maybe that's excessive. But parents, teach your kids to stop when a police is pulling you over. Then teach them to be nice to the policeman when they're talking to them. And then teach them not to run away. Because guess what? You could get shot. Because that's the police's job. I can't stand stories like that. And I marched in a George Floyd protest because that was clearly murder. Let's see. Climate agenda. This is a big deal. On the first day in office, President Biden recommitted the United States to the Paris Climate Agreement, noting in his inaugural address that a cry for survival comes from the planet itself. A cry that can't be any more desperate or any more clear. Of course, I said that better than Biden did. He promised an intense focus on the climate crisis at home, but also abroad. As the world's greatest historic emitter of pollution that is dangerously warming the earth, the United States would cut its emissions and lead the way to a safer future, he said. But 18 months into his administration, Mr. Biden's domestic climate agenda is hobbled, and his weakened position at home makes it difficult for the United States to persuade other nations to follow its direction in the fight to hold back. Well, let me say this. The only thing Mr. Biden has to say is, he was wrong. He can't just start a climate initiative without getting a solution for heating, getting a solution for transportation, getting a solution for electricity. It's that simple. I think if you step back and explain to people that was what's going on, and we have to slowly move to fix climate change, it would be much better instead of shutting everything down, because quite frankly, it just looks like your investments are what's important to you, and you really want them to take off. Let's see. Trump intent is now out in the open. The voices of men affected by abortion. The idea of having a child then just seemed insane. Who said that the abortions in his life, when he was struggling with addiction, has nudged him towards trajectory of healing. There's another guy. You can't tell anyone what to do with their bodies. His college girlfriend got an abortion without telling him. There's another guy, Matthew Markman, and his wife decided to terminate her pregnancy because their son had a rare heart defect. Okay, come on. Let's see. Theo Purrington, who tried to dissuade his college girlfriend from getting an abortion. I kissed her stomach and I said, "Daddy loves you and I'll see you in heaven." That's probably the most accurate I can imagine. Okay, here's Nam Phan, whose wife got an abortion when they were dating as teenagers. They now have a 5-year-old child. Having a kid back then would have really changed their lives significantly. Yeah, I would say that anybody from the 1970s and 1980s and forward, the argument was so strong for Roe versus Wade that many of us who were very sexually active, like myself, I guess we were so selfish and so self-centered, and we think we're going to make it to the stars and our future was so bright, I guess abortion would have been okay. Fortunately, I never had that situation I had to go with, and I hope that in my dating after divorce that there was never an abortion involved. But I think that everybody makes stupid decisions, but I think that this abortion ban is actually going to help society because it's going to make us think more about birth control and more about the seriousness of life. All right, let's move on to business. I want to read this story. 3D printing. Machines feet. The title is 3D Printing Goes Industrial. The machines stand 20 feet high, weigh 60,000 pounds, and represent the technological frontier of 3D printing. Each machine deploys 150 laser beams projected from a gantry and moving quickly back and forth, making high-tech parts for corporate customers in fields including aerospace, semiconductors, defense, and medical implants. The parts of titanium and other materials are created layer by layer, each about as thin as a human hair, up to 20,000 layers depending on a part's design. The machines are hermetically sealed. Inside, the atmosphere is mainly argon, the least reactive of gases, reducing the chance of impurities that cause defects in a part. The 3D printing foundry in Devons, Mass., about 40 miles northwest of Boston, is owned by Vulcan Forms, a startup that came out of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. It raised about $355 million in venture funding, and its workforce has jumped sixfold in the past year to 360, with recruits from major manufacturers like General Electric, Pratt & Whitney, and tech companies, including Google and Autodesk. Take a look at that. I think that's a pretty important story because if they're starting, others will start. There's so many things that can be made with this type of computerized CNC milling, I would say. Okay. North Korea has lifeline. Crypto theft. North Korea's economy is ravaged by the United Nations sanctions and coronavirus pandemic. The government has warned of severe food shortages. An unidentified intestinal disease began spreading among citizens in June. And yet the country has conducted more missile tests this year than any previous year. The government is giving new luxury homes to party elites. Kim Jong-un, North Korea's leader, has promised to develop advanced technology for the nation's growing weapons arsenal. A new nuclear test. The country's seventh is expected to happen. So basically, in North Korea, they're spending more money on technology and crypto and weaponry than they are on developing food for their people. But for all you people that want to see a more liberal society, they think communism and socialism are good, we got a nice North Korea style house for you. Will an old court decision on labor law come back? In the annals of the Supreme Court, few opinions have been more reveled than the 1905 decision on Lochner v. New York. In striking down a law that prevented bakery employees from working more than 10 hours a day and 60 hours a week, the court, under the 14th Amendment, enshrined the constitutional right to freedom of contract. That is the freedom of people to form contracts without the government's involvement. The decision set to the stage for the what became known as Lochner era, a laissez-faire capitalism. That era lasted until the Great Depression and the New Deal in the 1930s. In its heyday, the frequently cited Lochner was arguably the most important business case the court had ever decided, severely curtailing the government's ability to regulate businesses and the economy. Today, Lochner is imprinted on the mind of nearly every law student as an example of a bad decision. Very interesting. Let's kind of buzz through this. Apparently, business jets are doing well. North Korea finds lifeline, blah, blah, blah. Let's move this along and get to the Wall Street Journal. because the New York Times tends to try to persuade. Let's talk about Friday's Wall Street Journal. I did not find a Wall Street Journal. This is actually the weekend's Wall Street Journal. Let's see. The Biden administration plans to block new offshore oil drilling in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, while allowing limited expansion of the Gulf of Mexico. The Supreme Court decision to curb the EPA's powers could provide legal ammunition for challenges to financial regulations envisioned by SEC and other agencies. Russian missile strikes on a neighborhood in the southern Ukrainian region of Odessa killed at least 21 people, some of them children, according to Ukrainian officials. A bipartisan push to boost U.S. semiconductor production and competitiveness with China has run into further trouble and could cloud companies' investment plans. Insurers and employers began publicly posting the prices they pay for healthcare services ranging from doctor visits to lab tests. EU lawmakers struck a political agreement on new rules for companies that reap financial benefits from governments outside the bloc. Okay. GM said it could not deliver 100,000 vehicles in the second quarter because it lacked computer chips and other parts, underscoring the supply chain troubles that plagued the car business. That actually halted the stock on Friday, and it should be much bigger news. But as you know, GM stock rose a little bit. Kohl's has called off its sale to Franchise Group amid rising interest rates. Klarna Bank is nearing a deal to raise new money at a valuation of around $6.5 billion, a come down that reflects the punishing environment facing startups. Factories around the world are reporting weakening demand for their products, surveys show. U.S. stocks recovered a fraction of their weekly losses. China placed a large order on behalf of 3 of its biggest airlines for close to 300 jets from Airbus. That's good for Europe. Let's see. That pretty much covers the news and business. But let's just take a better look. Let's go to the next section. Okay. Oh, here's interesting. It can always get worse. That's not exactly what I say. I always say it's never as it seems. The iPhone's creators discussed the impact they didn't expect. We'll have to cover that another time. We're out of time, folks, because I'm tired. I'll be getting up 4 a.m. for the stock market. It's been a pleasure spending time with you. That's the news today. Remember, it's never as it seems. This is Newsweed.com. I'm expecting a lot of activity in the stock market tomorrow. Good night. It's been a pleasure.